I'd like to say Happy Women's Day to all the ladies in the house. And because today is the International Women's Day, this section, because the topic is actually a very broad topic, and we would need a lot of time to digest it. So we decided to just make it brief and have a little time to talk with our women because it's their day. So we're going to make the is how to attract wealth and keep it. Actually, is you could always attract wealth, but how do you keep it? You get some people who get rich, wealthy, and all of a sudden they go back to that old state of being broke. So we're looking at what are the principles that could, because it's a very broad topic, can't go so far, but we'll look at the principles of attracting wealth. So first of all, I would like somebody to tell me his own concept of wealth. Anybody?
For me, I think wealth is being comfortable. I know we all have various definitions. Some people's definition of wealth is having private jets and everything. I feel like my own definition of wealth is just being comfortable enough to afford what I want, basic needs, things that I need at this moment.
All the definitions we have of wealth are all correct. But wealth can actually be defined as a supply, a plentiful supply of a particular desirable thing. You might have wealth in knowledge, wealth in riches, wealth in several things. It's just a plentiful supply of whatever you desire. So when you're wealthy, you could be wealthy in different aspects of life depending on where your desire is. So today I think we'll be talking about the 7 steps to attract wealth. Because if wealth has to be a plentiful supply of what we desire, how do we attract it to ourselves? So the first one is believe you are worthy of happiness. You can't attract anything good if you're not happy. So the first step of attracting anything nice, wealth, is happiness. You have to be happy within yourself. You have to be happy within your environment to be able to attract wealth. So we won't be going so deep in most of these topics because of time. The second step is focus on what you have right now. Most people have this problem of they are here, they want to be there. They are not focused on what they actually do at the moment. In that aspect, to consider wealth in the type of riches. You could have someone who sells this particular item and instead of him to focus and have a way to create wealth, create more riches out of this item, he is not focused. There is eyeing how to sell cars, houses, and stuff. When you're not focused in the particular thing you're doing, you can't actually create wealth or attract wealth within yourself. So first of all, you have to be focused on what you are doing at the moment. Then the third step, which we're going to look at, is end of cycle of learned helplessness. End of the cycle of learned helplessness. Learned helplessness occurs when an individual continuously faces a negative, uncontrollable situation and stops trying to change their circumstances even when they have the ability to do so. An example of this is a smoker. A smoker might repeatedly try and fail to quit smoking, but because he believes he cannot do it, that's where he faces negative and uncontrollable situations. So when it comes to making riches or attracting wealth, we have to always believe in the concept that we can do it. We have to eliminate the learned helplessness factor and believe that change is possible. You understand? You can never think your finances, if you think your finances cannot improve, then you cannot attract wealth. So there are steps to make this better, to end this learned helplessness. I try to focus on learned helplessness because it actually affects most of us. It's a major factor that affects us. That thing of, I can't do it, not be my type. I never reach to do it get people they're made for. You know, that kind of a thing. When you don't have that self-belief in yourself, you always have that negativity, thinking you can't conquer that particular stage of life. And it's a major something that happens to most people of our age brackets. They always have to think that wealth is meant for a certain class of people. I don't know if you have encountered people who think that you're opportuned and they are less privileged. You know, so sometimes you have to just have that, have to face of that negativity in you. So there are certain steps you need to improve your finances or your wealth. First step in making it better is you have to think big. You know, there's a certain quote who said, a certain writer who said, you can't grow bigger than your imagination. You have to think it before you can go, before you can make it happen. If you don't see yourself, like most motivational figures, when you talk to you, they ask you, where do you see yourself in 5 years? You know, or where do you see yourself in 10 years? If you don't think big, if you don't imagine yourself being high, you can't attract that wealth, because though you have to have the capacity to manage wealth before wealth could come. You know, then you have to have perspective. You have to get perspective to think about a situation or a problem in a wise and reasonable way. You must keep things in a perspective. That guides our thinking big. You know, you'll be like, I want to be this, I want to do this, but it has to have perspectives on how to achieve that you want to be. That leads us to the third step. You have to set goals. You have to set goals for yourself. You can't wake up this morning and say, I want to be, for those of us in the political scene, you can't wake up this morning and say you want to be a governor. You know, you have to set goals. You can't be a professor without having a master's degree. You are going to school, having your first degree, your master's degree, your PhD. You have to set those goals and say, between this period of time to this period of time, I'll get this. Between this period of time to that's a way to attract wealth. That kills that learned helplessness. You know, everything that ever been made was thought about. You know, when Albert Einstein was talking about his development, people called him mad. So you have to think big. Before you can develop or invent anything, you have to think big. You can't just determine to have wealth in business and you don't study the brand of business you want to do. You don't study the investment you want to do. Like in this our generation, we are used to fast money, trying to get fast money. People get duped with all those lots of other MMM and all those Ponzi schemes and stuff. You know, you can't just make wealth without studying wealth, studying the source, the process, the output. Before you can make wealth, you have to study the process of making wealth. And secondly, or finally, you have to give away money. Give away money. Give money. Let's use the word give money. One of the major, I kept it to be the last, one of the major sources of prosperity and wealth is in giving. You can't attract favor. Like one said, someone's word of the day today was giving, charity. Charity is actually one of the major gateways to attract wealth. But if I have to wait till I have an excess of 10 million before I could give somebody a 20,000, it was not a sacrifice. You know, so when you give sacrificially, it attracts wealth into whatever you do, because state of wealth is not only about riches, but about favors, happiness, and whatever you choose to be, have plenty of. So right now, I want to just pass the mic to my co-anchor to share some points.
There was a time I would say to myself, I would say to people, I don't like iPhone. I don't want to have iPhone. And guess what? I never got one. Even when my friend was coming from Switzerland, he bought for 4 of my friends. He brought me a wristwatch. I was like, why did you bring me a phone? He said he doesn't know. He just felt he should buy a wristwatch for me instead. And that wristwatch costs less, like 4 times less than the iPhones. Why? Because the universe heard my cry and not open. Yeah. You have to be open to life. Don't tell yourself I don't need riches, I just want to live comfortably. That's all you get to. I'm telling you. And you can't sustain that. That's just the truth of life. Be open. Right now I'm open to receiving iPhone. I said to myself, I may not like it, but why not? If I have it, it's part of life. I need it. Let it come. So just be open to receiving.
Said end of the circle of learning helplessness. Now, speaking from personal experience, I would say that I am just coming out of my own type of learning helplessness. And before I could allow myself to think big and put things in perspective, I had to build confidence. Just wanted to add that because for a while in that circle of learning helplessness, everybody could see my potential. Everybody could tell me, "Oh, you can do this. There's so much in you." But I wasn't saying it, and I wasn't believing it. And before, as the ideas are coming into my head, I'm already seeing failure because I had already let myself fail a couple of times, and I had believed that okay, if I start anything, I'm getting old. I'm just going to fail. So before, I just want to say that in trying to break out of your circle of learning helplessness, be confident enough to believe that you are you are you are capable or you are worthy of what you want for yourself. And it was when I was able to do that, that bit by bit, I won't say I'm